Hi, it's John Bommarito, and for my second week of the video version of Acoustic Alternatives, I'm continuing a tradition started with my radio program, and I've dubbed that Radical Revisions, which I will do on the first week of every month. If you're going to do a cover, you may as well try to own it and put your own spin on it. That's what I say. I love the voice and the songwriting of Ypsilanti-based songwriter Adam Plomaritis. His medley of Lean on Me and Time After Time was recorded and dedicated to some friends who lost a family member to COVID-19. We lost Bill Withers recently too, so this was lovely to hear. Speaking of lovely, she is lovely and did Lovely Day. Judith Owen was joined by Pedro Segundo and Leland Sklar, who recently worked with local fave Laith El-Sadi on his last record. I believe Laith also working on a new record, and Leland may be involved with that. And that Lovely Day there came from Judith Owen. The loss of John Prine to COVID-19 was a big one for lots of my friends, so I dedicate William Fitzsimmons' take on Angel from Montgomery and Brandi Carlile's take on Hello in there to all of those friends grieving the loss of John Prine. The Killers have delayed their new album because of a pandemic, but that didn't stop them from performing on CBS's This Morning program, a very nicely done Tom Petty cover. The waiting for this to be over really is the hardest part for me. My favorite Petty over Tom would be Amy, and she was featured on last week's show and was kind enough to parse out the videos from her Earth Day session at my request. I love the lyric alterations to Joni Mitchell's Big Yellow Taxi. Well done, Amy. I've grown accustomed to her face. Frederick Lowe and Alan J. Lerner wrote this one for My Fair Lady, and James Taylor includes it as a bonus track on the Target edition of American Standard, his latest release, another one from both Amy and JT later in the program. I was looking for a good cover of Tracy Chapman's Give Me One Reason, and I found one. I stumbled into this one. I hope I say her name right because it's really a great radical revision. Tira Fajrina nails this cover of Tracy Chapman's Give Me One Reason. One of my favorite new singers covers one of my favorite old singers. I hope you enjoyed Maggie Rogers taking on the Sundays Here's Where the Story Ends. Check out Maggie's music at your leisure if you aren't already familiar with her. Sleeping at Last is one guy, Ryan O'Neal, and I just love the way he revises a tune. His Covers Volume 3 collection is just out and looks fantastic. I haven't heard it yet. This is an older one he did for an earlier release. Those three words are said too much. They're not enough. One of Gary Lightbody's best lines, Snow Patrol's Chasing Cars, done there by Sleeping at Last. And speaking of Snow Patrol, Gary Lightbody has been doing online weekly shows on both Facebook and Instagram, and they differ. This week he did all covers on Facebook, no videos from it, so I went back in time for his cool INXS cover of New Sensation. A reminder to stay home for a little while longer, and one of my favorite Need to Breathe songs done by Eric Baker, and done beautifully, I might add, Let's Stay Home Tonight. New music from Need to Breathe is out there on video. I'll play one of those two new songs next week. A chat earlier this week with my friend Kathy gave me hope that someone might be hosting house concerts this summer. Her, probably. I missed Christian Lopez at her home last time. She sent me a video of him doing this song. This isn't it. I don't think I will miss him next time based on this Sarah Smile cover. He owns it, and don't tell Daryl Hall. The Foo Fighters' Times Like These turned into a more beautiful song by the likes of Bastille, Dermot Kennedy, Rag and Bone Man, and Chris Martin of Coldplay, just to name a few. It's a well-done benefit single with Dave Grohl making an appearance too. Much of my listening at home lately has been my various artist CD collection, searching for songs I want to keep from each CD. I forgot about Gwyneth Paltrow covering a Kate Bush song that I love until I stumbled onto that one, and I'm so glad I did. Gwyneth's consciously uncoupled ex-husband covered Dylan's Shelter from the Storm on the first SNL from Home. Nicely done, Chris Martin. I know nothing about Noel Neal other than I loved his take on Tiny Dancer on one listen. It reminded me of one of my other favorite Elton John covers, Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters, done by Indigo Girls. Amy and Emily are set to have a new album out very soon. Online teases are out there for your perusal if you're interested in that. I've been watching Matt Nathanson do concerts from home lately. He's throwing a bit of love Indigo Girls' way recently, so I dug out this old Dire Straits cover he recorded before his big breakthrough, one of the great forgotten love songs. You hate to hear about a poorly timed love affair, but it's so beautiful in this song. We heard from Amy Petty earlier in the show. She also did a Talking Heads song for Earth Day. It's one of my faves of theirs, and apparently hers too, and I really love her spin on Nothing But Flowers. Rachel Davis, one of my favorite voices out there, period, and I've known her for years, but somehow I've managed to never meet her brother Zach, who still lives in Michigan. I really love this John Hyde song, and I hope they get in the studio and do a professional version of Cry Love one day. Eddie from Ohio are finally set to return my favorite venue, the Ark, this fall. I bought tickets before the world changed. I hope they still come. Lyle Lovett came up in a group chat the other day, and his cover seemed like a good choice, and If I Had a Boat was the one that came to mind when I thought of Eddie from Ohio. A new video from the a cappella group Straight No Chaser was easy to love at first listen. The harmonies on Madonna's Like a Prayer are done awesomely on this video, even if they aren't in the same room, which is probably the most impressive thing about it. Little JT again doing his best Billie Holiday God Bless the Child cover. His new covers album that I mentioned earlier is worth checking out for sure. Just out this week, a duet from brother and sister Sam Spade and Kylie Phillips. Elliott Smith's Between the Bars, done in their isolation booths. It reminds me somehow of Sarah Watkins and Sean Watkins doing something together. Not quite sure why, but it does. And I closed out the first video version of Acoustic Alternatives last week with something from Great Big Sea to lift your spirits. This week, former Great Big Sea singer Alan Doyle includes a more rocking version of the John Mellencamp track Paper in Fire on his new album called Rough Side Out. This acoustic take is fantastic too. Hope you enjoyed today's Radical Revisions edition of the Acoustic Alternatives show. Another great show lined up for you next week. I do want your feedback. If you would rather have these little video explanations of the songs done sporadically throughout the show as opposed to all at the end, please let me know. And have a great day. Stay safe out there.